Beauty requires sacrifice. That's what we can say about women in lavish dresses from the past, who look at us from the portraits of the Middle Ages up to the beginning of the 20th century. After all, even a basic trip to the sanitary room was a real problem. Beautiful ladies in lavish tiered dresses, giving hearts to knights in armor. How feminine they must have felt in their unique outfits, corsets and jewelry. We think, watching some historical film about the Middle Ages or the early period of the New Age. But if we think about it and imagine ourselves in this role, was it so convenient, taking into account the pressing issues of hygiene? And this is despite the fact that there is no modern toilet, and there is no sewage system in the usual sense of the word. What to do? How did these high-born ladies, who know everything about propriety, manage? Remember the old paintings. Women in huge skirts and corsets lead an ordinary life. Work, dance, travel. But hygiene must be observed. The corset is not a very comfortable design at all, and it was used for quite a long time, from the Middle Ages practically up to the First World War, with some breaks. The design was complicated by the abundance of skirts, crinoline, and in the middle of the 19th century tournure. Even in the heat it was necessary to wear many layers of long clothes, with many clasps and devices. Didn't women smell? And they invented a solution to this problem, and even coped with it, though, at the same time giving up many comforts. For example, a dress was never just one dress. They changed during the day, and often, a dress for breakfast, for a walk, for a ball, for dinner, etc., and underneath the dress was a shirt. It could be left on, or changed as needed, depending on odor and emergencies. The point is that if you wear one dress with a tight corset all day without deodorant or a shower, you will smell bad. Dresses, of course, were not washed all at once, but were aired, washed in places, steamed and sewn. Removable elements like ruffles on the hem, collars and cuffs. It was easier to wash a shirt. Besides, a lady's dress is a composite construction. In case of heavy soiling, some part or detail could be replaced. Separate bodice, underskirt, construction to maintain shape, skirt, or several. A collar or bodice overlays could be separate, depending on fashion and time. Thus, the shirt was the main way to maintain hygiene. If you took off a sweat-soaked shirt, you put it in the wash, and put on a fresh one. Accordingly, wealthy girls and women had many shirts. The poor did not have enough. A good dowry had to consist of many shirts, a guarantee that the bride would be neat. Special tabs were sewn under the armpits. They could be torn off and put in the wash, replacing them with fresh ones. Underwear pantaloons appeared only in the 19th century, and at first they were not sewn in the crotch, as they were worn with a belt-clamped corset. They could not be easily removed. And before that, the role of underwear was performed by underskirts, which, of course, somewhat simplified the task of fulfilling natural needs, but did not make it simple. Like dressing, the procedure of going to the toilet for a lady was not without the help of maids. It was necessary not to stain the dress. The maids served special vessels for going to the toilet, elongated in shape, reminiscent of modern ducks. The lady picked up the hem of the dress and sat down. Since the dishes were already able to do well then, this portable tank was quite convenient and made with regard to female anatomy, and at night, there were simpler night vases. Then they came up with the design of a chair, plus a night vase inserted into the seat. Here it was easier. The lady could pick up skirts from behind and sit on it, or pick up the skirts from the front and sit facing the back. Another variant, pots were cut into the drawers of chests of drawers. At the end of the 19th century, when toilets connected to the sewerage system began to be installed, the principle of sitting on them for ladies in dresses was approximately the same. From childhood, little girls were taught the basics of how to pick up a dress correctly. In order for a lady to do without the services of a maid, small hooks were invented, allowing to hook the raised hems. This took time, so the services of a maid were still a priority. It was impossible to do without them, because if a lady went to relieve herself, she had to clean up afterwards. All the same, skirts, frills, and crinolines prevented her from doing it on her own. In the process, it was important to keep an eye on how not to get the skirts dirty. Then the plume of odor was inevitable, and it was always present in places of natural needs. And if we talk, for example, out the middle of the Middle Ages, there were no special places. It was customary to defecate anywhere, and household night vases were emptied directly into the street. Hence, unsanitary conditions, disease, and stench. The aristocracy had separate rooms in castles, which protruded from the castle wall on the facade closets. From these protrusions there were pipes descending into the sea, moat, or a large barrel. Such a barrel was cleaned by special servants. The work was considered difficult and therefore honorable. These servants were quickly promoted. The aristocrats were more comfortable, but they were hampered by the winds, which were bound to blow into such closets, and eventually by the same stench. The first toilet, not only for the aristocracy, was invented in the XV century. The Long House in London consisted of 128 cubicles, separate for knights and ladies. However, it did not solve the problem of unsanitation. Waste went into the Thames and downstream. When toilets were installed in the homes of the nobility, ladies were still discriminated against for a very long time. As it turned out, it was indecent to let a lady of the world know that she had such lowly needs as going to the toilet. Therefore, it was possible to visit the toilet without violating etiquette at home. At other times, it was more correct to be patient. Accordingly, it was not possible to go far from home, and for a long time, public toilets for women were very rare. Large department stores were the first to recognize the opportunities. After all, if there are toilet cubicles for ladies, they will stay longer in the store, and therefore make more purchases. After this example, stalls for ladies appeared in street toilets. And finally, ladies' rooms opened recreational facilities. If earlier, a woman could enter a restaurant only for a short time, and only with her husband, from now on alone or with friends, and for an unlimited time. Of course, women still had questions for male designers about the design of cubicles and their size, the overall space of the toilets. However, these questions still arise today, and to understand women's needs, you have to be a woman or at least be interested in meeting them.